only ourselves to blame for that one. Unacceptable, really, to lose to a Leicester team who I think have lost 8 of the last 9 or something like that. I've only won once when conceding first this season. So up steps Wolves. First half we dominated, got the goal, looked good. Leicester heads had dropped, and an individual mistake from Sarr, which we must have seen since he's been in a Wolves shirt 6, 7, 8 times maybe, where he's in one-on-one situation, he's too hesitant to make his decision, and that split second costs us. I think if there weren't other positions in the squad that were more pressing, I think he'd be moved on in the summer. For me, I'd want a safer pair of hands. What he gives you in brilliant shot stopping, he's always got a bollock in him. And it was the same with Patricio. They're, for me, very, very similar goalkeepers, great shot stoppers. I think probably Sarr commands his area a bit more, but distribution crap and one-on-one, it's just calamitous. As soon as he started rushing out, I knew exactly what was going to happen. You need to make a decision quickly, and he's hesitated. He thinks, yeah, I'm going to go, and it's curtains. And to be fair, that changed the outlook of the game. It gave Leicester something to believe in, and we've gifted to him on a plate. Second half, you can only imagine that Lemina's injured. That's the only reason I can see why he's brought him off for Neves. He brings Neves on, he brings Moutinho on, and it's, apart from the last 2 games, it's like Wolves of the whole season. Pedestrian, one-paced, no dynamism, sideways. It's just revert to type. It's so predictable, and it's not good. So that's on Lopetegui for me. Shouldn't have made those changes. The changes made absolutely no sense. In a game where we were so comfortable, we've tied ourselves up in knots, and we're not out of it. We're far from not out of it. The only saving grace from today is that Forest have lost, Everton have only got a point, Southampton only got a point. You know, it's another game closer to the end of the season, and we've got 6 or 7 points. But you know, we've not really got a favourable run in. It means Tuesday against Palace is a must-win, no excuses. And I probably expect to see the team who started the game to come in to stay the same. But that midfield 3 should be untouchable from now until the rest of the season. I know Neves is your captain, he's a wonderful player, but we play better without him. The last 2 games have shown that. It slows us down, it's one-dimensional, it's pedestrian, and we're not going to get results against teams. First half, we suffocated them. Look at the press for Lamina for the first goal, straight onto Tielemans. You don't get that with Neves and Moutinho, and I'm not taking away the fact that they're fantastic players, but we need that dynamism in midfield. We need legs, and those 2 sadly haven't got it.
Right, so it's finished Leicester 2, Wolves 1 at the King Power. And I have to say, it's exactly what I expected before going into the game. And then I was pleasantly surprised, actually, by the fact that we just actually decided we wanted to come out and play. We dominated the majority of the first half until Jose Sarr has one of his moments, basically, which we've sort of grown accustomed to. I was at Newcastle away last season when he did the same thing to Chris Wood. And I'm sure he's done it a couple of times since. I just can't remember off the top of my head, but he's just one of the most rash goalkeepers. Like 90% of the time, he's absolutely fine, and then just has that 10% moment in his head where just completely loses it. And from that moment on, we never really looked like the better team. That completely ruined the momentum of the game. At half-time, taking Lamina off, I presume he was injured, because I never would have taken off Lamina in that situation. And then I'm happy for Neves to come on, but then he's dropped one of the most average performances when we needed him to step up and show why he deserved to be in the team over someone like João Gomez, who fought for every single ball with commitment. For me, the manager's got the subs wrong today. The Moutinho and Neves putting those sort of the old guard back on just sort of transformed us back into the side where we didn't even look like we wanted to play the game anymore. And Leicester showed more fight, which is incredibly odd considering they had the worst form in Europe, 9 losses, 1 draw in their last 10 games, and then we've decided to go and give them the win. It's just typical Wolves, isn't it? Yeah, but it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing because we could win. If we win that game, we're pretty much safe by that not by mathematics or anything, but just we've decided that we want to somehow still involve ourselves in the relegation battle when there's literally no need for us to do that. So now the Palace game becomes huge, and if we lose that one, then we're right back into the thick of it when I thought we were safe, which is incredibly tough to take. For me, Neves has to stay out the side now. The midfield three of Lamina, Gomez and Nunes works so well, even though Nunes didn't have his best performance today. And we need more investment in the summer. It's shocking to say, but we definitely still need a striker. And by the looks of it, we need to freshen up the wing as well, because Sarabia isn't moving me at all either. Guedes doesn't want to be here. Adama doesn't want to be here. And Neto looks a shadow of his former self, even though he only got 10 minutes today. And Podence as well, obviously, doesn't want to be here. Well, I don't want Podence to be here. That's the difference. So, it's a terrible performance. And, frankly, it's ruined my weekend. Hopefully we can put things right next week.
So, Leicester 2, Wolves 1 at the King Power today. A tough one, a bad one for Wolves, especially after taking the lead. They should not have lost that match. I think we can all agree on that one. You can lay the blame at many people's doors today for how and why that went wrong. But the big turning point is obviously the penalty in the first half. And it's pretty inexcusable from Jose Sa, in my opinion. If he slips, I don't care if he slips. What's he doing? What is he doing going out to approach Vardy like that when we know the type of player Vardy is that would go down if there was any contact made? And obviously it was a penalty because he slips and he sinks his studs into his ankle. But it's so stupid, it's unbelievable. And he did about 5 or 6 of those last year, and he hadn't done one this season, so we thought he might have got that rush of blood to the head out of his system really last year, but it clearly hasn't. And that got Leicester back in the game. Ian Asher put the spot kick away. And Wolves, after that, were pretty shit, to be honest. Nothing by way of attack in the second half, in my opinion. People might disagree with that. But after we took the lead and we had that 15-minute spell after, a great goal, by the way, Cunha. It was a really good strike from the edge of the box after Lamina pressing. And let's just hope that hamstring injury for him isn't too serious, because that would be a massive blow for Wolves, because he probably, you would say, the glue for Wolves at the moment. That midfield three of Nunes, Gomez and Lamina playing really well at the moment together, and it was 1-0 to Wolves it was 1-1, but at half-time, but Wolves, you felt, had the control of the game, and then Lamina went off for Ruben Neves, and obviously Ruben Neves has been here 6 years now, and you don't want to throw any sort of shade towards him, because he's been probably Wolves' best player this decade. But you have to say that we probably regressed when he came onto the pitch today. We became more conservative. We've lost that bit of power, that bit of running, the bit of energy that Lamina provides for us, really. And of course, you don't really want to say, oh, well, take 40 million for Neves in the summer and run, because that would be really disrespectful to the player that is really still a fantastic player for Wolves. But I'm not sure that game today really suited him, as we knew that Leicester would come and try and get the winner. And in the second half, that was drifting. Lopetegui made questionable substitutions, I thought. Sarabia starting the game. He was bad, not bad, but he wasn't great again. I think he's more of a home player. I'd have maybe put Hwang or Adama in from the outset today. I'm astonished Adama didn't get a minute in this match. Neto looked alright when he came on. Hwang was really poor, though, when he did come on eventually for Wolves. Moutinho came on in midfield. It did look like he was trying to bulk up the midfield to control the game and settle for a point, which would have been a great result. But as we look at it now, we're 6 above the relegation zone with a game against Crystal Palace on Tuesday, and that is a massive match. There is absolutely no two ways about it. It's a massive game for Wolves. And if they win, I think they'll be alright. If they lose, we have to start getting worried again. It would still be an absolute disaster if they were to go down from this position, but Wolves are capable. You wouldn't want to leave anything to chance. So just beat Crystal Palace on Tuesday. That's all I have to say on that matter. It's a massive game because they're safe now. They're away. They're over the hill. But Wolves, first half an hour was really, really good. You look at positives and negatives when you're analysing the game, and the first half an hour today from Wolves was brilliant. They were snappy, they were quick, they were moving the ball with urgency, they were doing the basics, but they were doing them really, really well. At some stages in the first half, Leicester were that much of a mess. Wolves were giving the ball away just so they could win it back off them in an advanced position. Wolves were playing really well until the moronic moment of the penalty. Ball in behind, Vardy rounds out, threw him as penalties an equaliser. And not much Wolves provided after that against the team that haven't won in 10. We're the worst formed team in Europe, so we all knew that Wolves would lose today. That's the way that we do things, really. Lopetegui's substitutes, I have to say, once again, it didn't fill me with confidence. Neto did okay when he came on, like I said. He was only given 6 or 7 minutes for Tosi Gomez, so I thought did struggle a little bit today. He looked a bit out of his depth after 2 decent performances in a row. And, yeah, I cannot believe Adama Traore didn't see a minute today. I really can't. And also, not having a backup striker on the bench. Whatever Jimenez has done, I don't know, but it must... Well, he hasn't done anything. Lopetegui said he's out of the squad for tactical reasons. Now, you know me, if you watch these, that I haven't been Raul Jimenez's biggest fan all season. But surely, off the bench, 10 minutes to go, after Diego Costa comes off after an hour, you need a physical presence, a striker, a number 9 on the pitch. Leicester started with 3 recognised number 9s on the pitch in Daka, Vardy and Iheanacho. Like, there might lie the difference for Wolves, and... it's not a great position. Obviously, would have taken it a few weeks ago, 6 points from our last 3 games. But Tuesday's a massive one. And if we lose on Tuesday, we'll be looking over our shoulders. Luckily, the results today have gone our way. I do believe that Wolves will stay up. But at the moment, if they perform like they did after they let the equaliser in today, they will struggle. But if they perform like they did in the first half an hour today, when they took the lead and really should have held on to it, it was really poor. But if they perform like they did in that first half an hour, I think they'll be absolutely fine. So a really disappointing one today for Wolves. As far as Tuesday night goes, it's a massive game for Wolves. Win, and I think it's okay. Lose, and they're back in a world of trouble again. Leicester 2, Wolves 1.
Well, really disappointing one today. Leicester 2, Wolves 1. After the first 20 minutes, I thought we were going to absolutely walk it, to be honest. 1-0 up, cutting through them at will, not really causing us any problems. At the other end, their main outlet really was a long ball out to what's our right back position, which Semedo did quite well, and Dawson covering up behind him. Although I didn't think Dawson necessarily started the best today, but Semedo dealt with it well, and we were playing some really nice football. A lot of energy in midfield with Lemina and Gomez, both playing really well. Good combination play up front with Núñez, Sarabia, Cunha and Costa all combining well. Creating chances, nothing necessarily clear cut other than the goal that Cunha took really well and buried into the bottom left hand corner. But just looking a really good team, really solid, win the ball back quickly, dominating the play, dominating possession, creating chances, and just all round playing really, really well. The penalty that we concede is absolutely ridiculous. Why we've got caught 2-on-2 at the back in the first place when we're already 1 up, I'm not really sure. Felt like we'd probably committed too many men forward at that point. Vardy gets in behind. You then think Sarr comes out, closes the angle well, forces Vardy out wide, and you think just keep him there until the defenders come back and help you out. But for some reason, he just dives into Vardy and completely wipes him out, which then ends up, obviously penalty and he scores it. So he doesn't score it, Iheanacho scores it. But why he's took him out there, I've got no idea. They had one other chance, first half. Vardy again in behind. Fortunately chose to square it rather than shoot, and Totti with a really good block. But I mean, first half we probably should have been 2 or 3 to the good without that Sarr mistake. I just don't know what he's doing. I just really don't understand why he's dived in and decided to take Vardy out when he's effectively running towards the corner flag. It's a stupid decision, and just something that he definitely shouldn't have done. Then Sarr had another shocker a couple of minutes later. Shot comes in, he goes to catch it and drops it. Luckily got away with that one. But yeah, let's say first half really just a really good side, a sort of carry on really from the Brentford game, playing really well, combining well, and you're thinking, yeah, 1-0 up, go on, get 2 or 3, and then to be honest, even once they've equalised, you go in at half time at 1-1 and you think, okay, come out second half, carry on playing like we did first half, and we should still get the win. Lemina then goes off with a hamstring injury. You saw him holding his hamstring towards the end of the first half, so we did wonder if he was going to be coming off. Neves comes on. All starts very, very slowly, really, at the start of the first half. Start of the second half. We don't start particularly well. It's all a little bit pedestrian. A lot of that movement seems to have gone. But we start okay. So other than being slow, it seems to be okay. And then for some reason, on around about 55, 57 minutes, he brings on Matinho and Hwang, takes Costa off, and Sarabia off. Hwang goes left wing. Matinho comes in, I guess, as a kind of number 10, which leaves Kuna up front on his own. And as we all know, he's just not a number 9. No, not put any blame on him whatsoever. It's just not his position. He looked so good the last few games up top with Costa as a 2. I don't know why he's decided to change it all around and put Kuna up front on his own. Also, Bruno Lage got absolute pelters, and quite rightly, for playing Neves at centre-half against West Ham, and that's effectively exactly where he's played today. Most of the time, he was the deepest man on the pitch. We went back to this formation of 3 in the middle, which doesn't seem to work. Our only attacking outlets were out wide. You end up with a fullback and a winger both out on either wing, with then Kuna just stood on his own in the box. And again, he's not that sort of striker where he's going to be getting on the end of those. So quite why Lopetegui thought that was the way to go, I'm not really sure. And it really just reminded me of the Forest game, which was awful. We were lucky to scrape a point. And I don't understand why, having played so well in the last 2 games and the first 45 minutes of today, just because Lamina goes off, I don't understand why that then means just because he's replaced with Neves, we have to change the whole formation. I can only think that Lopetegui doesn't trust Neves in a midfield 2, doesn't think he's got the legs for it. But to change the whole system was ridiculous, and really we just handed it to Leicester. I mean, they put an extra man in midfield with Vardy. I think he went off injured at half time, but it wasn't like we were expected to get overrun. I mean, it's so frustrating that we've just handed the victory to Leicester. And to be honest, second half they were the better team. They could have scored a couple of decent saves from Sarr, to be fair, second half, and they could have won more comfortably than they did. But again, towards the end of the game, which we've seen too many times this season, we looked like we could have played for hours and not scored. I don't think we really created anything. But I'll say Neves is set the deepest man on the pitch, in between the 2 centre-halves. Matinho, don't get me wrong, was a world-class player when we bought him. One of the best players I've seen up Molineux in a Wolves shirt. But today, he just looked miles off it. And for me, he shouldn't be. He's not the player you bring on when you're 1-1 wanting to win a game. I could probably count the amount of times on one hand he actually touched the ball, and a few of them were from free kicks that he took. We never looked like scoring from a set piece. I think the Dawson was the last one we did score, and that was when he very first signed. Never looked like scoring from a set piece. Never looked like creating anything from open play in that second half once he changed the formation around. And I just really don't know why he changed it. So I can only think it's because he other than Gomez and Lamina, he doesn't trust the rest of them to play 2 in midfield. But if that's the case, we've got to have a change of personnel in the summer, and I'm not saying that means that Neves needs to go. Don't get me wrong. Neves is a top class player, but we need to find a way of playing with him in there in a 2, because as soon as we go to this 3 with pushing the centre backs up and pushing the full backs up, we look so likely to get caught out on a counter and just don't create anything. I suspect Lamina will probably be out now on Tuesday against Palace, if it's a hamstring tweak, because they probably won't want to risk him if we take it, only in a few days' time, if we've already taken him off at half time today, which then worries me, because I just hope he doesn't go back to the system that he played second half today. I mean, if it's Neves coming in, great. I love Neves. I'd love to have him on the pitch, but just stick him in a 2 and let him play. If he needs to run around a bit more, needs to put a bit more of a foot in, whatever Lopetegui wants him to do, then great. But we can't go back to this system that we played second half today. We played it against Forest, and it didn't work. And it hasn't worked second half today. We were awful. After being so good in that first half. But yeah, on to Palace. I mean, we're still 6 points clear of the bottom 3. I still think we'll stay up. It would take a hell of a collapse now to not. But you look at our last 3 games of the season: Arsenal, Everton, and United. Not in that order. With Arsenal, United being away, and they're 3 tough games. Everton will be scrapping for their lives down there as well. And we know how well we've done against the bottom teams. And that's the other frustrating thing. A win against Brentford and Chelsea, obviously above us in the league. Yet we've lost to Bournemouth, Leeds, and Leicester. and a point away at Forest recently, and it's just not good enough. We can't keep losing to these teams or not getting 3 points against these teams that are below us in the league. Anyway, on to Tuesday. Won't be an easy game against Palace, who have obviously turned it around against with Roy Hodgson in their physical team. A lot of running. We do generally tend to struggle, but hopefully we'll bring that energy that we had first half and create some more chances and hopefully get the win.